Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Twenties Detox podcast. I'm your host, Bianca Venturity, where we talk about learning as well as unlearning, building as well as breaking habits, beliefs, mindsets to help guide you through the struggles of early adulthood. Because let's be real, being a 20-something can be hard sometimes, okay? And I am actually in such a good mood right now because there's snow, and some of you guys may not be into snow, but unpopular opinion, I really like winter. And it's mainly because although Christmas is done, it reminds me of Christmas time, but also I love to ski. I love to do so many winter sports, and I think it's so magical to see, like I'm just looking outside right now to see all the trees with the fresh powder. Like I'm so excited. We haven't had snow basically all season so far. Like it's been a really, really warm winter. I mean, other places in Canada, I know, and northern parts of the US have also had quite a lot of snow. So I think we're just, missing it. And I'm so happy that it's finally coming. It's been like a minute since I've recorded a podcast episode. Like I know this is only like technically the second episode, but it was during Christmas break and it wasn't even the new year yet. I love how I haven't even put these up yet. So me talking about New Year's resolutions is going to be like, I hope it isn't February, but it may be February. And that's just emphasizing my point that I'm just not a New Year's resolution girl. Like I just don't love it. But going back to like some of the things I said in the last episode, talking about my health, it has improved. I've slept a lot. I have been, I was going to say I've been taking my vitamins. That's a lie. Like I've maybe done that 3 times, but we're getting there. At least we've done it 3 days in a row. Anyway, so yeah, I'm feeling I've had a busy day. This is kind of like it's about 4 o'clock right now, and I'm really hoping to get like a walk in the snow. Me just talking about how much I love winter right now. But yeah, I've just had a very busy past couple weeks. I mean, I've been working a lot, and I just feel like I don't have enough creative energy. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's been heavy. It's been like the energy has been feeling weird. I'm crying a lot more than normal. And I realize I'm a Pisces, so that's not really uncommon. But I've been crying and been really sensitive lately. And so I've been, being in tune with that. Just trying to give myself some grace in those moments, spend my time with people who make me feel good. And that's leading into our point of friendships in your 20s. How to make friends after, going into this post-graduation thing. Post-graduation's kind of hard too because of friendships kind of going away. And so I felt like it was perfect to kind of take this next episode in the direction of talking of friendships, because it's definitely one of the main things after graduation that becomes a lot more difficult for people. It's just something I've been going through myself in the past couple of years of trying to find new friends and letting go of friends that have been going our separate ways in a sense. And that's okay. Like friendship breakups don't necessarily need to be this like horrible, explosive thing. Sometimes, and especially as you become more mature and they become more mature, can be just like a natural way of going our separate ways. And that sometimes, it's never easy, because if you struggle with people pleasing, or if you've had experience in the past of friendship breakups, it can, resurface some feelings that you once had before that make you overthink the situation. And I recently learned the term called trauma coupling. If a situation is close enough to an experience that you had early on in maybe childhood or your life that was relatively traumatic, even if this situation isn't insanely explosive, it may still bring up the same feelings, where you feel this sort of, maybe it's guilt, thinking you've done something wrong, or just like immense sadness because it's like, oh, here it is. Here's another one of these situations. Like, why can I never keep a friend? What is wrong with me? And that catastrophizing can occur. But going into college and university, it is, or even just being in school, period. That's basically all we've known for our childhood and some people early adulthood for making friends, because you see these people almost every day, and it's just that sort of proximity that allows you guys to get close to one another. Yeah, like you're surrounded by so many people, not only just people in general, but people your age. So for the most part, you're going to have similar interests, similar things to bond over, maybe some of your first experiences together, and this desire to be popular. I also want to talk about that because I bet everybody knows about, the popular people that they've seen in school. And if you guys know, if anybody has been my friend in university, I was in like a science degree. My friends, I would say all of us were like kind of nerdy, but there was still like this urge of like to be validated no matter what, because we have not been taught where to find proper self-worth and to go inward and find validation with yourself rather than searching it through other people. So this desire to be popular has been huge in my experience in school, and it can also be carried through university, and it leaves a lot of people, a lot of students feeling really lonely or abandoned if they don't have, this like huge amount of friends, like this huge friend group. That's why one of the things, and if we're talking about an unlearning habit or mindset, it's like getting out of this idea that you need a shit ton of friends to be happy, because that's just not true. I find that it's so important to just really focus on a smaller group of people that have the quality part of them, like a really intimate, authentic, supportive friendship with them. Because I read a study about whether or not more friends make you feel less lonely. And they found that having a feeling of loneliness has less to do with the number of friends and more to do with how you feel about your friends. I'm going to say that again. So, studies show that having a feeling of loneliness has less to do with the number of friends and more to do with how you feel about them. And this was something I saw in Psychology Today article. And something they said was, even some people who are surrounded by others throughout the day or are in long-lasting marriage still experience a deep and pervasive loneliness. So being lonely, I think I mentioned this in one of the episodes already, is something that I have struggled with the most after graduation. And it's because, one, I don't live in a really busy city. I actually live more on the countryside, so there aren't a lot of people around me. And proximity, like I said, played a really big part on the friends that we may have today, because we were surrounded by people every day at school, maybe some sports that we took when we were kids, and for the most part, those are the friends that we have made. The proximity principle is actually something that I read in one of my social psychology classes. It was explaining why we befriend people, or we have labeled ourselves being in this group of people, and two main reasons why people form groups with others that are nearby to them rather than people that are farther away is, first, because it is familiar to them, and two, because The more people come into contact with one another, the more likely the interaction will cultivate a relationship. So it is just going back to the premise of familiarity. Humans love freaking familiarity. Whoever is nearby to them, they're going to become more familiar with time. Think of the first time you ever met your current best friend. It was maybe a little scary. You were definitely not as close as you are now, but as time went on, that you constantly, met them in person or had communications with them, that started to grow and you felt more safe with them, open, secure, and those are the best relationships and friendships that you probably have today. And I don't mean to bring so many studies into this, but I did read something else of in recent years, they found that actually proximity has become even more powerful over making friends than just having common interests. So think of now in the adult world versus student world, where a lot of your friends live around you, live close to you, are co-workers. Those are the friends that you are constantly developing now. And so for me, living in an area that doesn't have a lot of people around me, that becomes harder. My job is a hybrid type where I work from home sometimes, I work in the office, but it's with my family. So I don't really have people, first of all, my age, and two, that are not a relative of mine. I want to dive into later about some ways so that you can make more friends if you feel like you are lacking maybe quality friendships still. But before we go into that, I do want to emphasize or re-emphasize the importance of prioritizing quality over quantity. So a quote that really stuck out with me, which was a lesson that I learned near the end of 2022, was the people who give me the most amount of peace deserve the most amount of my time. And that kind of hit me because as somebody who is a recovering people pleaser, I tend to give a lot of my time to others that really don't reciprocate. And it is out of a lack mindset, out of a I don't want to feel lonely, out of I don't want to seem like a bad person, I don't want to seem rude. So I'm going to overexert myself and be overly supportive, overly happy with people that really don't act the same way. And I just looked a lot in the potential that they could give me versus what they really were treating me like. And that was all of the extra friends I had that were on the quantity end of this spectrum that really didn't benefit me. They didn't serve me they didn't. Like, even myself right now, I want to be like overly nice and say, we just were in different paths. Like, sure, like, yes, we were, but then there was things that, were kind of just plain out shitty. And I just stuck around a little too long. The unfortunate thing is, while I was going through some of those situations, I started neglecting the people in my life who were of quality for me. I would say my sister is definitely up there, one of my best friends. And then one of my other really good friends who lives farther away from me, probably my best friend. It's just kind of funny how I find myself not reaching out to them because it's a secure relationship, it's a secure friendship, as much as I would have reached out to people who didn't reciprocate. Because it's this constant, when I found myself doing that, I realized my worth was put into the validation of others. Because what happens is my ego gets really high and happy when eventually they'll give it to me. But then if they take it away, if they don't give me that validation, then I am just like constantly hungry for that attention. The really good quality friendships, one, don't always give me the validation I want, but will always be there for me, will always support me. And because it's so secure, I've neglected it in the past because my ego is not inflamed. So I'm actually not craving that hunger for them. And didn't give my attention to them. That was something I had to become aware of. And if some of you guys relate to that, might become aware of, is, are you searching for the validation of others that you realistically could give yourself? And two, are you neglecting some of the people who have always been in your life? Right there. So the people who gave me the most amount of my peace, I wrote down in my journal. I wrote down who gives me the most amount of peace. It was literally, I would say, less than 7 people, maybe 5. What I found was, okay, these are the 5 people that give me the most amount of peace. I need to make sure that I am giving my attention to them, being grateful for them, reaching out to them. I didn't want to find myself in a situation where I was hanging out with more people who didn't provide me the most peace than not. So that is something I would like to say before you try and make friends. If you're approaching it as a point of not feeling lonely, just take a moment and write down, like, who gives you the most amount of peace. Because take it from somebody who learned it the hard way, you don't want to find out that you are drifting apart from those people because you're searching for more friends. You know, because like I said, by the end of the day, it isn't about the amount of friends you have, but the way you feel about your friends. Like, you could literally have all the friends in the world, but like, if they cannot provide you with joy and meaning, what is the point? You know, like, why waste your time on that? If you need to conform to their ways, kind of feel like you need to put a mask on and you're not truly yourself, what is the point? Like, you probably already have to do that at work or in other situations. Like, spending time with friends shouldn't be like that. It should always feel safe. I mean, I don't want to talk about this as a way that, like, or as somebody that has it all together, because like I said, it was like one of the biggest things I struggled with. That took me a while to really start to accept. I feel like once I reached that point of not approaching finding friends as a lack mindset, but of this growth mindset of, how could I find more people that also provide me with the same amount of peace that I have from X amount of friends. I have people in my life that already provide me with that peace, so no matter what, I'm not losing anything. If I find a person who I may be friends with, but we really don't click and we really don't match, because I approached it with a growth mindset, I'll just be more okay with stepping away. I won't overexert myself. I won't get into the people-pleasing habits like I once did. So going on to how to make friends as an adult. We've kind of talked about what the main issue is, and it is, we don't have that sense of proximity anymore. We don't have school where we could have, even on our bad days, been surrounded with our best friends because we had to go to school. Number 1, take advantage of your friends' friends. So remember that list that I told you to write of the people who bring you the most amount of peace? Chances are you could also connect with some of their best friends too. Well, my best friend now was introduced by one of my friends before. We connected so much, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I had not met one of my previous friends, So that is something that I would definitely take advantage of, and it's something now that I am trying to do more often and plan little weekend things with my friends and be like, hey, invite so-and-so, I'd love to meet them, and try and connect, because it's rewarding, and it may also strengthen the friendship that you have with your current friend, because then that group just keeps expanding in more peaceful friends and more like really close and fun people, like-minded people. But then also, I wouldn't push it if you don't connect. And if you guys are mature and you love one another, then it wouldn't really make or break a friendship. Yeah, that's something that I would definitely take advantage of. If you're in a situation where you have like a really small group of friends, they may be in I would say each of my really good friends are in totally different friend groups. They're not in one friend group. So naturally, I'm like introduced by some of their friends in this section and some of their friends in this section and this section. And I have definitely connected with some more than others, but it was an enjoyable experience because I also felt like my really good friend felt secure in that environment and like made me feel good, made me feel secure. So that's first one. Second one is use social media. I feel like social media now, it has a lot of negatives, but one of the best things about it is it removes this like barrier of not being within a certain proximity with people. Like you can communicate with people of all over the world. And I have met some of, I would say, on my list of people who bring me peace, one of them I met through social media, like Instagram, and we both had a lot of similar interests. Like that is what brought us together. It isn't because she literally lives in the US and I live in Canada. So we haven't even met each other in person, only over FaceTime and Zoom and stuff. But we've been like actively talking for over a year now. And I would definitely say that she's up there in some of the people who I relate the most to. And that's such a really nice feeling to have, especially when you're in your 20s and there's so much self-doubt that comes in that decade of like what I want to do, how I want to feel, and like the stuff that I believe in. I don't feel crazy as much. Like I can just feel so nice having conversations. You know, if I'm like have this feeling and nobody's really getting it or like kind of agrees, I'm like, oh, I know this girl's going to. Like I'm going to schedule a FaceTime with her because like I need to talk to her about this. You obviously have to be careful. Don't share, I don't know, like where you live and stuff, obviously. But, you know, it's understanding that you have this tool now to build friendships with people from all over the world. And that is something to like really make you grow as a person, because then you can surround yourself with people who allow you to get in a growth mindset better than people that maybe literally close by to you within your hometown that are not on your wavelength at all. During this transition period after university, I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to going the same direction as I was. So when we connected and I was talking to her about kind of my situation and the fact that we both resonated so much with what we were saying to one another, I was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. Okay, third, something I don't really relate to, but I know if you guys are in this situation would benefit so much with, is hang out with some of your coworkers. Because that, like I said a bit earlier, is a situation that is quite similar to what you went through with school. Because now you're put in a situation where, like on the social media end, you choose based on interest. But here, maybe you're put in a situation where you don't have common interests, but you have that proximity. And you are going to build that familiarity with one another by seeing each other almost every workday. Or if you're messaging and it's a hybrid situation or you're working together on projects and stuff, you may surprise yourself if you ask them like, hey, do you want to go out for like a drink after work or something? Or like do something, I have like an extra ticket to this thing for this weekend. Like, do you want to join me? Or have like a group of you guys hang out. It may surprise you that you have more interests than not because you're stripped out of this like work area. You're no longer in work mode where you're just like there to get the job done. Outside of the work environment, you can be more real with one another and actually find that maybe you have a lot more interest than you thought you did. And also it helps like make the time go faster when you're at work, because now like you'll enjoy it more because you've built a bit of friendship, like this friendship with them. If you need help, like you'll feel comfortable going to more people to ask for help and they may be more willing to give that help back. Yeah, I definitely feel like befriending some of your coworkers is something I would definitely try and do. And lastly, number 4 is get out there. Like get out there and volunteer or join a workshop or book club or go to gym classes, something, because In my particular situation, I don't have a job that allows me to kind of partake in number three. And I also don't live in a city where I am surrounded by a lot of people. So I need to actively put in the effort to go and join something where there will be more people for me to potentially connect with. And I've definitely made a couple friends when I do like these regular gym classes for women like that are around my age. And it's so, like I said, it's like humans need that sort of interaction. I feel like if you are somebody who goes to this like hyper independent side, we'll get into that like another episode, but I've been there a lot. And it surprises myself that even as a person who is quite introverted, when I am with people who make me feel good, I am just like so happy. Meeting my friends who are at the gym, or if you are volunteering or you're doing this workshop, you can find so many people, and not only within that proximity kind of aspect, but like I said, with the social media aspect of similar interests. So you can bond over similar things. You can grow in that certain field more because people might have learned other things that you haven't learned. A little summary, I guess we'll go here, is I read this thing in Untethered Soul. It's such a good book. And it is, if you are approaching a situation to avoid pain, you'll just bring more pain into that situation. And in this instance, if it is a sense of loneliness, to not be rejected, to not lose all these friends more, then most often than not, you're going to have those things because you're going to be desperate and you're just going to find anybody. And you're not being mindful of, does this person really bring me peace? Do I have anything in common with them? Can I feel authentic? Do they support me? All these things. That growth mindset, so important. That's like literally why I worked on it for a year. I just felt like it was something I really needed to get over. And I have little hiccups here and there, of course. I'm human. But for the most part, I can wake up maybe the next day and realize, yeah, that was a little bit of a setback. But I have this awareness now, because you can't lose that awareness. And really writing out that list of people who bring you the most amount of peace. And if you want to also be like really honest with yourself, write down the people who you may need to let go, that really don't bring you any peace, that you've probably just been forcing this whole time because you've been in the lack mindset for so long. Like, we don't freaking need those people, okay? We really don't. It's just way better to put your energy into those that make you feel good. And lastly, to really take advantage of like this ability, of this awareness as an adult, to build stronger friendships. 4 ways taking advantage of your friends' friends. Using social media to your advantage as well. Also, trying to befriend some of your coworkers. And lastly, if you're in a similar situation like I am in, still get out there and try to join some sort of clubs or classes or volunteer in order to surround yourself with more people and possibly connect with them. I feel like it's so important. I feel like it's so important. For so long, I just was like, I don't need people. I'm good alone. But then I realized, no, I need people. I do. I get sad. And I write in my journal every day. Like, I have this planner and I write down like, who am I going to reach out today? And I'll rotate between those 5 people who give me the most amount of my peace. And it's definitely made me feel a lot better. It makes me realize that whole idea of like, wow, I really don't need a lot of friends. Like, I really don't. But it would be nice to still keep these friends coming if possible. I'll leave that for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode and have some journaling ideas, some whatever's come to your head from this conversation that we've had together, and you feel a lot better in your situation, because by the end of the day, we're not alone, and so many of us have been going through this of like a sense of loneliness, but being alone or having less friends doesn't equal needing to feel lonely. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. I guess I'll see you guys next time. Bye.